Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Welcome back to the session 3 of day 3 of Faculty Development Program on Rural Entrepreneurship. I am IR Kalyani, Research Scholar at Mahatma Gandhi University. I extend a warm welcome to session 3 speaker, Mr. PVGK Murthy. He is the founder and director of Ingrain Technologies. Ingrain is a sector-specific progressive consulting company operating in the exclusive areas of agriculture and allied sectors, natural resources, rural development, agribusiness, and rural livelihoods. Sir holds a postgraduate degree in Agribusiness Management (PG/PA/BM) from National Institute of Agricultural Extension Management, NH, Hyderabad. He is a graduate in Agricultural Sciences from AP Agricultural University. He is a senior agribusiness professional and international consultant in agriculture and allied sectors. He has 23 years of professional experience in diverse areas of business strategy, agribusiness management, procurement management, logistics, training, quality audit, supply chain management, processing and product development, contract farming, public-private partnerships, crop development, community development, customer relations management, trade leadership, marketing, exports, trade relations, and training. He worked as national level manager and has taken up important public-private partnership projects. He led many cross-functional teams in important assignments for various organizations, including government organizations, private business entities, non-profit organizations, and research institutes. He has worked for ITC Limited for 11 years, and prior to that he worked in agri-input industry for 2 years. From 2009 onwards, he has been operating agri-consulting business of Ingrain Technologies. Sir is going to speak on the topic Startups and Innovations in Agri-Business Sector today. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I am PVGK Murthy. So, in coming one and a half hour session, we will be touching upon various aspects pertaining to agriculture, agribusiness, and the scope for business in agriculture, and the kind of innovations and the kind of startups, and we will touch upon various topics pertaining to the business scope in agriculture. And as you know it, agriculture is a very big subject, and it has several allied sectors also. It would be very difficult to cover a total thing in 1.5 hours, but nonetheless we will try to cover the topics that are required at this particular level and in the given scope. My request to you is please be interactive and kindly ask me questions whenever there is a need for clarification. So that would be really great thing. So I'll switch over to the presentation now. Yeah. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
You can see, yeah. So let us understand, entrepreneurship in agriculture is a very, very old concept. So it is not a new one in the sense that people have been working in agriculture. So before moving into entrepreneurship part, let us understand what is agriculture. How does it operate? What are all the characteristics of agriculture? What is the scope of agriculture? Where we can intervene, where we shouldn't intervene. Okay, agriculture is very, very important for us. If you are having 3 square meals a day, that is because of agriculture. And agriculture is very, very general subject, and a lot of people feel ki boss, I know about agriculture. Most of you might be from agriculture families, maybe remotely connected or directly connected. What happens in agriculture is that if everything fails, agriculture is the thing. Probably you might have understood the situation during this COVID time. All the other sectors are not doing good, especially manufacturing, other service sectors. IT is doing okay. But when it comes to agriculture, agriculture has been the one of the important sectors that has been that has been very active during COVID. Okay, so when you want to have food, it is agriculture, which is the back end, which is operating in the back end. So we always need farmer. 3 times in a day. Yeah. And if you look at the importance of agriculture or agri products in day-to-day life, you can see this cartoon. No coffee, no work in the office. Agriculture is not only restricted to food, agriculture is restricted to several other activities in our life. Cigarette is an agri product, tobacco is an agri product. Not only your food, your entertainment, your fun, everything is coming from agriculture. If there is no agricultural activity, there is no product. If you look at agriculture in a broad sense, there are 4 areas. One is agri input, second is agri output, third is support services, fourth is value added or niche segment. So agri inputs is basically seeds, fertilizers and agrochemicals, and also biofertilizers can come here. Then output is basically it has to do with the produce, agri produce and the related things, which are attached to that, food grains, fiber, fruits and vegetables, agricultural, horticultural, poultry, fishery, dairy products, and, food processed products. So all those aspects will come here, agri output, your commodity trading, your commodity sale, food processing, all these things are here. Then comes support services. You have infrastructure support, you have consulting support, you have IT related support or R&D support. All these supporting services are here in the third segment. Fourth is, niche segments, like biofuel. Biofuel was ruling the roost 10 years back. Now also it is very, very important. But in India, there is not much of an activity regarding this. Then you have special processed foods, then organic products or IPM products or new products like, agri-tourism or, specialty beverages, anything special which comes under the niche category comes here. Okay. If you want to understand the agricultural business per se, agriculture business or agricultural activity should be started much before you want to get something, in the sense that there is a biological lag between the time you sow the crop and you get the harvest. So if I want something like 100 metric tons of one particular commodity like maize, I should have planted it 6 months back or 3 months back, right? I cannot get it like it is not like a London Metal Exchange this thing. It is not like a metal, you want it and you will get it now. No, there is a biological lag. You have to understand the time lag between the date of sowing and date of harvest. Then only something is possible, because it's a biological product. And all agricultural produce is bulky and it is perishable. If you want to see, if you look at the price of gold, it is something like hovering around 50,000 today, roughly. So with 50,000, hardly we get 10 grams of gold. You can just keep it in your pocket. Probably you'll lose it if you are not very careful. If you buy the agricultural commodity like wheat or paddy or anything else or vegetables for 50,000 rupees, you need to have a great storage space to store it, and and you have to keep in mind that these things are perishable, they are not non-perishable, and frequency of use is very high in terms of agricultural commodities, because 3 times in a day we eat meals, or sometimes something like tea you consume 1 or 2 times. Some people drink tea for 5 times, or coffee, beverages. It depends on the habits and the requirement and climate and food habits and region and all those stuff. Then it is weather or climate dependent, manpower intense. Agriculture requires a lot of manpower, both at management level and also at the field level, to participate in the agricultural activity. And it is pretty much regional specific. It has like climatic zones, microclimatic zones and all those stuff. Then every agricultural commodity, it shows some kind of fluctuations in terms of price. Agricultural markets are highly fluctuating. There is a intraday and interday price variation in the markets for those respective commodities. It's a typical business environment, and it has its own set of principles. It is a very seasonal business. It is, as discussed, it is climate dependent. Irrespective of the kind of capital that was spent and irrespective of the kind of knowledge or skill farmer is having, end of the day, it is still climate dependent. These are the characteristics and nature of agriculture and agribusiness. Okay, broadly agriculture covers, agriculture is a very broad word. We use this word called agriculture or agribusiness to encompass basically the agriculture, horticulture, dairy, fishery, apiculture, sericulture, and any other allied areas, in the sense that you have fruits and vegetables, cereals, poultry products, dairy products, fish and marine products, then apiculture, sericulture, and then your silk and your whatever, all those things which are directly or indirectly related to agriculture, which are called allied sectors, and agri allied produce is the word which is being referred to. Then if we are talking about innovation in agriculture, basically like any other field, the innovation in agriculture should have the qualities of time compression, increase in value generation, like in a low cost, then improvement in operational convenience. Either one or more than one characteristic should be attributed to the innovative product. If you look at agriculture per se, you can see innovations in terms of when people say that usage of technology in agriculture, it is not only the mobile technology or the software driven or computer driven technologies. The technology can be something like development of a new seed, plant breeding technology. Okay, the technology can be coming out with a new molecule that can protect the crop, protect from the crop pests or crop diseases. So the anything that is related with agronomy or cultural practices should also be considered as technology in agriculture. See, you may use internet, or you may use apps, or you may use data, or you may use GIS or AI, or the things are countless as you count from a regular technology point of view. But agriculture has its own innate technology. Okay, if you look at the agricultural markets in India, you might be aware, recently India has come out with a new Farm Act. Okay, those are the developments which were brought into the system. Otherwise, if you look at the agricultural markets, they are predominantly fragmented, uncoordinated markets, operating in remote parts of India. Because agriculture is a state subject, it is driven and controlled by the state governments in those respective states. And the supply chain has a lot of losses. It is not very efficient in operation, all these agri or horti supply chains, for that matter, any supply chain. Because there are some kind of leakages in the system. Then there is a multiple layer of intermediaries, the commission agents or village level agents. As the layers increase, as the number of layers increase in between farmer and the end consumer, the farmer's paisa in the consumer's rupee goes on decreasing, because all these layers will absorb certain percentage of profit in the supply chain. So you have another phenomenon called post-harvest losses, which is very, very huge in value and volume. Then inadequate marketing facilities in terms of infrastructure. Now the government of India, Modi Saab ka government mein, we have ENAM, Electronic National Agricultural Market, which is like it's a one nation one market kind of scenario. So this is trying to connect with various farmers. Buyer can be anywhere from India, and the seller can also be from anywhere. They meet each other in the electronic platform. It is like any other share market or MCX platform or CDX platform. It is an electronic platform. This is the intention of this ENAM is to enable farmers to sell it to anybody, or farmers or agents, because the choice of buyers can be fulfilled from various places. They need not get restricted. Otherwise, what will happen is if I were a buyer, I need to go to the local mandi, local agricultural mandi to procure the kind of commodity that is required in terms of volume, value, quality. Now what is happening? I need not restrict my operation only to the nearest mandi that in which I have been operating. I can also procure agricultural commodity nationwide, you know. So after this transaction is over, there is something called, you know, physical delivery of the commodity that has been procured. So that is a different you know, activity altogether. But this particular activity is enabling farmers or, you know, agents or, you know, small time business people to sell their produce, because it is like, in a way, it is inducing some kind of transparency in price discovery of the agricultural commodities. In a way, it is really helping the farmers. It would be even better if more number of buyers and sellers participate in ENAM. Okay, and the crop intelligence or, you know, crop related or agricultural market intelligence is limited. It is not like other commodities where you have tons and tons of information which has been processed or which has been streamlined, and the decision making is not very easy when it comes to either sale or purchase of agricultural commodity. Even when you have a great deal of information, you know, great volume of information, deciphering that and, you know, taking a call on a particular activity or called buying or selling, it has been very difficult at all the levels because of the inherent constraints of the agricultural markets and marketing systems. Okay, so ask me, you know, what is the attraction now? You know, maybe all my slides might be showing you what are all the negatives and constraints about agriculture, what are all the limitations about agriculture. Then boss, you may ask me, then what is that? You know, what is that in agriculture which should attract, you know, people? You know, now if you look at the overall funding for startups, there is a funding institute called AgFunder. I think it's an Australian-based funding agency which is operating internationally. You know, the global agri and food tech funding reached 19.8 billion in 2019. Okay, and within Asia, Asia has attracted something like 786 million. Okay, and I think you might have heard about this thing called Ninja Cart. Ninja Cart has attracted something like 100 million. That's what I have read. Okay, so there is a huge investment that has been pumped into the agribusiness. If you look at the activity of Ninja Cart is into supply chain business of fruits and vegetables and agri produce. Okay, so that is one of the startup. So it is, you know, my idea is to just impress you people that people are looking for big time value in agriculture. And, you know, with the past 7-8 months of experience, you know, because of the COVID-19, people started operating through digital platforms. Earlier, people thought, okay, boss, this is not my cup of tea, you know, let me not worry about it. But people understood that digitization is the way forward in agricultural operation also. Now, you know, it is only a matter of time. You know, yesterday I read an article that, you know, in India, we have completed 20 years of internet. Okay, so if you look at India today, there are something like, you know, 120 crore mobile connections and 60 crore internet connections. On an average, I think these guys are using something like 8.3 GB or so per month, you know, when it comes to data usage. So all these figures will, you know, give you a ballpark idea of, you know, the kind of data consumption. See, end of the day, we have to understand that about 50% of the Indian population is depending on agriculture, okay, directly or indirectly. And there are close to 12 crore land holdings in India, okay, and it has been, agriculture as a sector has been contributing something like 14 to 15% of GDP. It means that, you know, a lot of people are there in this sector, and the value output per person is comparatively low compared to other services, other sectors like service sector or manufacturing sector. But still, India has remained predominantly an agricultural country, and this is our primary occupation. See, this is not only an occupation, this is not a livelihood option, but it has been a way of living in India. So the agribusiness, what we are referring is, covering the purview of agri inputs, seeds, agrochemicals, fertilizers, other machinery related to agriculture, then other advanced farming techniques called precision farming, then water and irrigation management like drip and other kind of micro irrigation, then storage of produce, agricultural produce, then the post-harvest management of agricultural produce. So these are the various businesses that come under the purview of agricultural business. So if you look at the other set, these are the the possible businesses. Vegetable aggregation and distribution, this is nothing but supply chain operation, where FarmLink and your Ninjacart kind of companies are operating. Then agri services, farming as service and custom hiring services. It is like I can establish a custom hiring service for farm implements in the village. I'll keep a tractor, a rotavator, some other agricultural implements. Then I also keep a combine harvester for harvesting the crops, or a paddy transplanter to transplant the crop. So all the agricultural implements are given for hire. This is one kind of business which is gaining popularity. And organic farming is also gaining popularity in India. It is like, last year, the increase in organic area is like 20%. It is now we have something like 27.7 lakh hectares in India, which is coming under organic segment. So people have started appreciating the value of organic products. There is a huge increase in terms of purchase of organic products. So people started valuing organic, and there is an intrinsic value in organic products, and we are also doing some kind of export also. So other aspects are like food processing, then rooftop gardens, hydroponics, high-tech agriculture. Then hydroponics is soilless agriculture. Then other aspects like dairy, where now people are talking about A2 milk or A2 milk products. You might be knowing the difference between A1 and A2. A2 is basically the desi gai, the Indian native cow, which is giving milk which is rich in nutrients, and also which will give the disease resistance and other good benefits to the consumer. So people are deriving various value-added products like paneer or ghee or butter or clarified butter or buttermilk or whatever. All these things from A2 milk, and they are selling at a premium value. That has become one of the niche products in today's agribusiness scenario. And okay, this is a agri input sale is a age-old agriculture business. People are still getting into agribusiness. Like agri input sale is one of the potential areas. Like if you look at companies like Managromor of Coromandel, they have opened a series of outlets called Managromor centers in many villages across AP and Telangana, and Karnataka. In Karnataka, it is called Namagromor. In AP and Telangana, it is Managromor. So it is operated by Coromandel company itself. So this is the kind of demand that is existing in the rural markets for agricultural inputs. Then commodity trading, then special businesses called agrotourism, then agri-finance, lending to farmers by private people, private non-banking entities. Then trading of cattle, sheep. See, earlier we have village level shandies, sante or santa, what do you call in local language, vernacular language. So these are the things where people are they want to bring these kind of activities into digital means. They are digitizing these kind of activities. Yeah, if you look at agricultural marketing system, these are assembling, processing and distribution are the main activities in agricultural marketing system. So how you handle the agri output, basically the physical assembling, then handling, handling is, downloading and, loading and downloading and storage, and then transport and processing or grading, then, wholesaling, retail. These are the activities. Yeah, if you want to understand what are all the issues that are basically ailing the Indian agricultural commodity market, this is the list of aspects. You have low competitiveness, then poor quality assurance, or lack of certification, and our guys have no export orientation. Then in some of the cases there is a rejection of containers because of the high pesticide or high fungicide or high agrochemical content which is there, which is shown as a residues. So these are some of the constraints what we have seen. So how do you solve this problem? Yes, we have defined the problem. Then, how do you solve, and how can you really keep the Indian agriculture business flag very high? So let us understand few points here. Value addition is one sure shot way of getting more revenue for the farmers. See, if you are, it is like in good olden days when British people were buying raw cotton and selling us clothes, that was not a good business. If you are selling raw materials, then by purchasing the end product, that is a very, very bad business in the sense that you are losing on both the ends. So if you want to value add to Indian agricultural sector, you have to be a value addition person. You have to be a value addition agent. So if you are processing foods, it is like, the difference between selling wheat and selling atta. Atta is something which is readily usable, then wheat requires kind of processing. So if you are selling wheat, then you cannot realize the total market value. If you are selling atta, then atta is giving you the kind of desirable profit margin, and that's a good business. And along with that, there is something called branding. You are all from marketing departments, and you know what is branding. So we are very poor marketers in India. Now, not many commodities or not many what you call products are branded in the Indian scenario. Okay, then there is something called GI tagging, geographical indication, like your Darjeeling tea or Araku coffee or Tirupati laddu. So this is also contributing to the marketing. And certified products, organic certified, or other things like Rainforest Alliance certified or fair trade certified, or all these things will really add value in the market so that it can attract some kind of premium. Then other niche products, IPM is one of the niche products along with organic. IPM is a product where, we don't say that IPM doesn't have pesticide residues, but the pesticide residues in IPM products are so low that, that will not harm the human system. It means to say that, yes, we are not saying it is pesticide residue free. Pesticide residues are there, but at very, very sublethal level. Okay, right. Then packaging and storage aspects, if you know how and how to store it well and how to distribute it well, then it is also adding some kind of value to the products. So these 6 aspects are to be taken care if you want to enhance the market value of the agriculture and agricultural product. So, if you are looking for, getting into a global level business, you need to have good marketing systems, and we have to follow the regulatory framework, and the regulatory policy framework should also, it should be in synchron, it should be like synchronizing with the world policy level, or the other countries and India should speak the same language, or they should be on the same page to understand a particular parameter. How do you define one particular quality parameter? So these are the basic requirements. And we are also talking about disintermediation, taking out the unnecessary layers in the supply chain. Then, there is some issue about taxation and all those stuff. Then other hurdles are like phytosanitary standards, physical, chemical, microbiological parameters, quality parameters. We have to bring in some kind of quality consciousness when we are exporting our products or when we are even marketing in the domestic market. Basically, we have to understand that in today's scenario, earlier people were not buying quality stuff. People were buying Lunas, people were buying TVS 50s. Now people are buying bullets, see, bullet was a very expensive kind of bike earlier. You might be knowing the case of bullet. Now bullet has established a second plant to meet the demand in the market. So in India, there are a lot of people who are valuing the product and who are ready to pay. There is a want and there is a affordability to pay for the product. So unless we become a value supplier, it is very difficult for us to survive in the future. So yeah, if you look at the list of stakeholders, you have farmer, trader, vendor, government, manufacturer, retailer, transporting and logistics providers, then trade unions, all these guys, this also includes the equipment suppliers and dealers and other agents and commission agents and APMC market guys, other government officers, policy makers, everybody is a stakeholder here. Agriculture is one sector which covers a very large number of stakeholders. Yeah. And if you look at the kind of operation or the kind of performance of agriculture, it has been always good. Right from the times of agriculture has never disappointed people. If you look at the table, our agriculture production, it kept on increasing, it kept on improving with every passing decade or with every passing year. If you look at the food grain production from 50.82 in 1950-51 to 2011-12 May, it is something like 259.32. And so are the other, if you compare cotton or fiber or oil seed or any other thing, it has been doing good. Yeah, you can see this. You can see the improvement everywhere. Indian agriculture has performed well. This is the one sector which has remained a unsung hero. Nobody has appreciated agriculture, or nobody has appreciated Indian farmers. Indian farmers remained unsung heroes within our country. This is the sad part. If you look at today's scenario, boss, this is the product. Sorry, this is the produce. So we are standing at what? 291.9 million. We are close to 300 million metric tons of food material. It has improved by 6.74 million metric tons compared to the previous year. Great. We are doing absolutely great, because if you want to feed a country which is something like 1.3 billion population, then you should understand and appreciate the kind of effort that should be exerted by a sector called agriculture. By and large, yes, we are importing some of the commodities like oil and cooking oil and other few things, but by and large, India has remained self-sufficient in spite of a big-time population explosion. This is the best achievement. This is the #1 achievement of Indian agriculture sector. The first and foremost objective of this agriculture sector is to feed its people. Yes, it has done. Our sector has done it, and it has done it with perfectly. It has done it perfectly well. Yeah. This slide is just to give a perspective in the sense that if we say car, if you want to buy a car in India, we don't envisage any of these models. The left side, the model is the old one, the first model of the car. The right side one is the old model, and the left side one is the latest, the electric car by Tesla. Okay, we are neither here in the old time agriculture this thing, or we are not there in the upgraded version. We are somewhere hanging in between, like our car usage. Yeah, this will give you an idea of what people consume. See, food and agriculture are interrelated. Your food business is indirectly an agriculture business. And mithai is very popular thing that gets sold in India. Various states are eating various kinds of mithais. This is all contributing to agriculture, and indirectly these kind of foods are derived from agricultural sector. Yeah, and somebody eats rice and somebody eats wheat. Yeah, so predominantly India is eating rice predominantly. Yeah, if you want to understand, the vegetarian versus non-vegetarian. Okay. Now this is the percentage, is a very rough representation. Okay. The western states like Gujarat and Rajasthan and these areas are having significant percentage of vegetarian population. Okay. So it all depends on the kind of food distribution and food business you can plan. This gives you an idea who is eating what. Within meat, if you want to understand the non-vegetarian meat market, so what kind of meat people are eating? So it gives you an idea who is eating more fish, who is eating more poultry meat, who is eating beef, or who is eating mutton. This will give you a very broad idea of food consumption pattern. Your food is derived from agriculture. So if you want to get into agriculture business, you have to understand the food consumption pattern of the people. Okay. Yeah. And agriculture has its own inherent problems. You might have heard about fall armyworm, which is basically spreading within continents, not only states or countries. It is spreading within continents and affecting agriculture. And to conduct agriculture, you need water. But unfortunately, India is witnessing a big time water stress. Okay, you can understand from this picture. So I mean to say that India is doing well in spite of Indian agriculture sector has been doing well in spite of having so many constraints in agriculture, but still it is going ahead. No full stops. Yeah, you are all from marketing department, you know it well. So Kotlar Saab has told that we should make profit in any kind of business through marketing. So when you look at certain activities in agriculture, probably could you recognize this person? He is Mr. Dharampal Gulati ji. He is the founder and creator of MDH Masala industry. Okay. This was his starting shop. Now he is worth some millions or billions. This is where he has started, and he knows how to create a mix and match of various masalas that will give you good and tasty food. So he is a kind of innovator. Okay, in modern sense we have a connotation that innovators, they are doing only things which are pertaining to technology. Somebody who is doing something with WhatsApp, something with mobile or something with computer are the only innovators. No, innovation can be there in any of the activities of human being. Yeah, this is a garlic market near Narsimgarh of MP. Agriculture markets are like this, very humble, unorganized, non-sophisticated. Yeah. Once again, we will understand Kotlar Saab's, Philip Kotlar's message. It is like, there is some in management, we study a law called Say's law. Demand creates its own, supply creates its own demand. Say's law says that supply creates its own demand. So if you look at strawberries, when I'm 47 now, when I was a child or when I was a teenager or an young adult, I never had, I have not seen so many, Telawalas selling strawberries. Strawberries have become very popular only from past 7 to 10 years in India. Okay. So people, some of the one particular year in North India, they had excess crop. So they started, marketing strawberries in Hyderabad and other southern parts of India, and it got sold well. People could sell it immediately. So from that year onwards, it has triggered a kind of cultivation of additional strawberry commodity. So now, whenever you go to any market, you can see strawberries in its own season. Okay. that is how strawberry has become very popular. I'll give you another example. You know, when I was a child, I never had a chance to eat a lot of dry what do you call dry fruits. You know, your cashew or date palm or any other thing. But now every family keeps dry fruits in its almirah. The consumption of dry fruits has gone up like anything. The consumption of meat has gone up like anything. There were days when people used to eat meat only on Sundays. Now there is no Sunday or Monday. Every day is a meat day. So the consumption of meat, for that matter, the consumption of any kind of food has increased in India, irrespective of the geography or socioeconomic group or whatever, the culture. Okay, so in the sense that agriculture in a way is local and in a way it is also global. In the sense that your local foods price is getting affected by the global demand and supply factors. But okay, still our preference is with local foods. But okay, the generation as it is changing, there is a switch in terms of preference of food. You know, the younger generation now who are in their teens, they may prefer something like burger or pizza, but people like me, I still prefer the Indian food of dosa, chapati, idli, all this stuff. It all depends on your brought up, your culture, your specific orientation towards food material. Yeah. So these are the various places where farmers are selling their produce. Okay. So farmers have multiple options depending on their convenience and depending on their what you call value realization. They can sell their produce in any of these places. Yeah. Yeah. So India is one of the important onion producers. So we are exporting onions to Bangladesh, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, UAE, Nepal. You know the story of onion. You know, in some point of this thing in the season, some months are good, some months are having huge demand for onions. The price is going up. Then Parliament will pass a bill, no exports. Sorry, Parliament will pass an order, no exports. Okay, because see, it is like how you control the commodity prices is it's both a science and art. Okay, so agriculture is not a simple subject. Neither the agricultural operations nor the concept of agriculture is simple. It is very, very complex. To understand these kind of things, we need some kind of effort. Yeah, I'm saying this because see, if you look at the photo, when you simply refer that was brinjal. Brinjal, what is brinjal? All these things are brinjal only. What kind of thing you are referring to brinjal? Right. There are n number of varieties in brinjal. If you refer mango, there are n number of varieties in mango. Agriculture is that way. It is very, very what you call complex. So every place has its own varieties. Each variety has its own significance. Each variety has its own importance in processing. Each variety has its own importance in export and local preference. And it depends on climate. It depends on management practices. It depends on market preference. Yeah. When you say simply apple, what is apple? There are n number of apple varieties here. Right. Yeah. So we know that a set of agricultural commodities are driven by minimum support price in Indian system, and government has been revising the minimum support prices of those particular commodities. But yes, there are different schools of thought whether MSP should be kept or MSP should be taken off, or there are various ideas from various schools of thoughts. Yeah, we don't brand commodities. See, branding commodity is something maybe technically I'm talking wrong, but this is a commodity. This is from a place called Amadala Valasa. There is a Jaggery market. No, sorry, not Amadala Valasa. This is near Amla. Sorry, I'm not. This is near Visakhapatnam. And in agriculture, everything is valuable. You can see this photo. This is from Pakistan. This guy wants to sell his hay to Dubai. Kept ready for shipping and transportation. Everything is valuable in agriculture. We cannot undermine the value of anything in agriculture. Yeah. If you look at the potential of agriculture in India, we have all right factors contributing for agricultural growth and agricultural business. We are largest producer of milk. We have largest cattle population. We have good number of soil types that are congenial for agriculture. Sunshine hours are good. We have everything that is, and more than anything, India has 50% arable land. If India's area is n hectares, n by 2 is arable. In none of the countries in this world have this kind of blessing. Yeah. If you want to, I'll just browse very quickly. We are good in mangoes. This is the variety of the commodities we are producing. Fruits and vegetables. Spices. Turmeric. India is biggest producer and exporter. Tea. Coffee. Millets, pulses. Orchard crops. Fruits, banana. Wheat. Okay, right. Let us have some small time discussion on value addition in agriculture. So several interventions were made. This is one photo from Andhra Pradesh, where the small farmers, marginal farmers have grown organic cotton, and they are in collaboration with Tomorrowland, a company from abroad, Belgium. So they are into preparing organic t-shirts. It is giving good value to them in terms of returns. India is number one in organic cotton production also. Same thing with Men Group. Yeah. If you want to understand the various products that are under specialty segment, recently ITC has come out with this organic range, Nature's Foods. ITC's Nature Normal. See, the left extreme one is Ashirvad Atta, which is normal. The middle one is Ashirvad Select, in the sense that it is a special product. It is because it is having more of Sharbati wheat in this as a blend. The last one is having organic products. So ITC is ready to market these organic products into a specialty segment. And all these things are going well in the market. And the concept of branding the commodity. See, agriculture commodity is a commodity. See, there is nothing like in technical sense branding the commodity. But yes, some of the companies are doing this. There is a Chiquita brand banana, which is branded on ethical sourcing. There is a Pink Lady apple, which is branded on the taste. There is a Darjeeling tea, which is branded on taste and GI. Then Araku coffee. Then you have Banganpalli mango and you have Kadaknath chicken. Okay, Kadaknath chicken is one of the Kadaknath is one of the Desi varieties. Maybe anybody from Madhya Pradesh might be knowing it. It gives black color meat. People say that it is anti-carcinogen, anti-cancer, in the sense that it will prevent cancer, or it will help in reducing the effects of cancer. So people have started popularizing Kadaknath chicken. So it is a desi chicken. You know, if you go to any restaurant, you know, desi chicken is costlier than the normal broiler chicken because it's a delicacy. You know, it takes longer, days. You know, and more number of days compared to a broiler chicken to mature. So now the desi chicken has become a premium. Okay. Nowadays, if you want to develop a backyard poultry with desi chicken, that is a good thing. Now even people are starting thinking about, you know, starting poultry units for Kadaknath chicken in a big way. Okay. Yes. See, agriculture is a evergreen business. We have to understand that. You know, if I'll give you a simple. Last year, Swiggy has witnessed a booking of 95 biryanis per minute. Okay, Swiggy got a booking of 95 biryanis per minute. That translates to something like, you know, 5 crore biryani bookings in 2019. After that, there is a booking of 17 lakhs gulab jamun. So look at you see the whole number is pertaining to Swiggy only. We are not taking other distributors, food distributors into account. So if this is the kind of food business, this is the kind of value and this is the kind of numbers that are available with food business, boss, then your agriculture is doing well, right? Yeah, these are the certification agencies, and yeah, if you look at marketing, Bisleri has been selling water. Water is nothing but a commodity, isn't it? Bisleri has completed 50 years in India. And हम किसी से कम नहीं है in the sense that earlier when I was looking for any Indian brand of wines, I never found one, you know, because not many reputed Indian brands are available when it comes to wine production. But of late, you know, India has come out with good number of wines. Sulai wines is one. You have Grover wines, we have some other wines which are now making their own place in international markets. Added to that, you can see Rampur single malt whiskey, you know, one of the India's pride products. Okay, whiskey is nothing but a derivative of agriculture, isn't it? And this person has made a branded liquor which is made out of mahua. Okay. Other brands like, you know, Girijan honey, it has made a very big impact in the markets. It has remained a trusted brand for honey from good number of years. This is collected from the forest by tribal people and packed and sold. And this is the kind of advertisements, you know, US people give for their agricultural product. Indian people, we are very poor marketers inherently. If you look at the value of agricultural products, the value is very, very big. You know, if you look at the banana, if you take the single commodity of banana, it is the total banana business is like 8 billion. Yeah, other startups, we'll have a small discussion about other startups in agriculture. Like, you know, you have future farms, rooftop gardening for the, you know, hobbyists. Okay. This is a company called Barrix, which is into IPM and organic cultivation. Is a non-chemical means of controlling pests. Okay. Plantix, which will give you, it is an app-based this thing. You know, if farmer finds out something, some issue, you know, a pest or disease attack in his field, then he can send a photo to Plantix, and they'll give the advisory based on the kind of photo that has been sent. Then IFCO Kisan, IFCO has come out a online agri input market like Amazon. Now farmers can procure their agri inputs from IFCO online market. This is a development. Yeah, Crowfarm is another supply chain based company. Basically, they aggregate the farm produce, fruits and vegetables, etc. from the farmers, and they supply it to companies like Big Basket or Jubilant Foodworks or Big Bazaar or other business entities. We discussed the farm mechanization or custom hiring centers. There is a company called EM3 which is doing very well in terms of custom hiring of farm machinery, farm equipment. Okay, so people are operating through apps, or people can call to their centers. They'll come. See, if I want to plow my land, I can book a tractor tomorrow, in the sense that today I book, the intent is for tomorrow. So tomorrow that particular guy will come and plow my field. They will charge something like 600, 800 or 1000 rupees depending on the local demand and supply scenario. Okay, this is one of the new businesses. Ninja Cart, we have seen this. This is one of the important startups in the area of agri business. FarmLink is another supply chain company. Okay. Yeah, if you want to understand few things about advanced agriculture, then the Dutch greenhouses or Indian greenhouses or all these things are there. It is like they are operating under the purview of high investment, high risk and high return. Okay, so then other agribusiness aspects, the traditional businesses like chili processing, all those stuff, they are also doing very well because there is a global demand for chili. This is how the process happens, various steps. And if you want to understand few more examples which are shining in the Indian agribusiness scenario, Kashmir apiaries. This is one of the important honey making company which is doing very well both in domestic and international markets. They have a lot of products. There is a big product range. They have one product for every occasion. They have bulk products. You can see this, the green drums, and they have, something like tabletop wala ready to use honey, small sachets. They have organic honey. They have normal honey boxes, the honey wax, everything they have. The product range is superb. This we have seen. Another example is like lion dates. Okay, none of us probably were eating as many dates as we are eating now, if you compare the same activity 20 years back or 30 years back. Those dates were not available. Dates were loosely sold on a thela, which was basically kept in unhygienic condition. There is an issue attached with dates because if you are buying from the thela, which is basically unhygienic, you cannot wash those dates and keep it back in the box. When you wash it will get spoiled. The only option left is that you have to use those dates which are still in unhygienic condition. But what had happened was Lion has come out with, the brand Lion has come out with hygienically packed dates, and also they have various formats, dates, seedless dates, then dates immersed in syrup, small packs, big packs, bulk packs, all the stuff. Yeah. And if you ask me, Coca-Cola marketing and all are, big time case studies in management. You must be knowing that, Coca-Cola has changed its, the shape of the bottle several times over a few decades. Whether I don't know, I have not read any book whether Coca-Cola has changed its taste and flavor over few decades, but it has changed the design of the bottle just for marketing sake. But I don't know whether it has changed the taste and flavor of the drink. Okay. Now we will touch upon few points in the processing system. Okay, this is how the food supply chain ecosystem works. These are all the various players. It is a complex thing. Yep. So when we are talking about food processing, we have several categories of foods like, ready to serve, ready mixes, instant mixes. So all these segments are, the purpose is same. They are here to serve the people who are either buying it for taste or for convenience purpose, right? Yeah. So there are three kinds of food processing. One is primary processing, in which only you clean it, cut it, and just you don't change the form of the food, but you are basically grading it, cleaning it, and aggregating it. The secondary processing is that you are basically changing the form of a agri produce. It is a simple example is that you are manufacturing atta from wheat. Once atta is made, you cannot make out. See, we know it that atta is coming from wheat, but atta is a changed form of wheat. So this is called primary processing. In secondary processing, what will happen is that you are adding one or two substances to derive a slightly complicated or slightly complex product. Okay, for example, jams, jellies, and all those stuff, they belong to tertiary processing. The extraction of essential oil is a tertiary processing. In terms of technology, it is slightly complicated, but it on pro rata basis, it is also having the kind of value when you use more technology and when you use more sophisticated machinery and mechanism to extract the tertiary products, it will obviously attract a better price or premium in price. So you can understand the kind of the products. If you take the example of rice, rice, broken rice, and all these things, rice starch are primary products. Then pop food rice, poha, pop food rice, all these things are secondary. Rice bran oil, oil cake, idli mix, dosa mix made out of rice, all these things are tertiary. Okay, if you take the example of banana, the same thing. You can just read it out. So there is a primary, secondary, and tertiary levels of processing in food. The primary food, processed food is less valuable compared to tertiary, right? The same example pertaining to other commodities. If you take the example of milk, liquid milk is the primary one, which is pasteurized and packed. Secondary product is like flavored milk, yogurt, cream, paneer, ghee, butter, cheese, which is relatively lower, which requires lower efforts, lower degree of efforts. Then making ice creams or Srikhand or any sweets pertaining to milk, all these things take more efforts and they may take more number of raw materials. Yeah. Yeah. So there are, if you are talking about food processing industry, we have various things under food processing. You can just read it out to appreciate. Just read it. Food processing is a huge sector. Estimate says that if you invest something like 100 crore in food processing, it will give employment for 2,000 people. This is the kind of estimation. See, food processing comes with value addition and also it provides employment generation. It is adding to the economy of the country, as you know it. Multiple products, millions of products are there in food processing. Agriculture means money. Agriculture is money. Agribusiness is money. Yeah. Just go through to understand and appreciate the range of products, processed foods. Multiple products. If we take the example of tomato, just see the kind of products that are available. Carrot, just see the kind of the range of products. Ginger. Nothing in agriculture is ineligible for value addition or value generation. Everything can potentially generate value in agriculture. Potato. Sweet potato. Other products. The product range is very, very big. Yeah, let us have a look at agri-allied sectors in 5 minutes. Indian dairy is doing well, and India is the biggest producer of milk in the world. At 187 million metric tons in 2019, we are the #1 milk producer in this world. And our everyday production is something like close to 400 million kg per day. If you look at the history of India, we have done very, very well when it comes to dairy industry. None of the other countries could, get this kind of growth. Look at India's growth. In 1970, it is 20.8, and by 2017, it is 176.27. Now it is 187, close to 187 million metric tons. None of the other developed countries could show this kind of growth. Our closest competitor is Pakistan. All of us know that, Pakistan has been a part of India before independence, and similar kind of, situations exist there. So the growth has been possible in these two countries when it comes to dairy. But yes, nobody can beat India. And this is the availability of milk across various states in India. We are much ahead when it comes to availability of milk. It is 229 grams per day, the old average. Indian average is 355 grams per day. These are the kind of markets. Your liquid milk, non-value added thing is around 64, and remaining 34% is from value added. Okay. 2% is sundry. Okay. It's a big, a good 9.16 lakh crore dairy market in India as of now. Our per capita consumption of milk is still less compared to US and other developed countries. That is why we can market more milk. And the derivatives of milk are like this. Another good range of products. Yeah, this will show the, the safety of milk. How safe is the milk, what we consume in India? Not all the places are giving you safe milk. Okay, then what is innovation in milk? Amul has come out. That Amul is one of the biggest institutions when it comes to milk marketing. It has come out with camel milk and camel milk powder. And it is saying that boss 500 ml is 50 rupees and it is good for diabetic people. This is the marketing strategy. And there is a company, startup company called Advik Foods, which is preparing camel milk and camel milk powder. Along with that, it is also preparing goat milk and goat milk powder. There is a market for that. This is the story of value-added products. Segment-wise growth, liquid milk and milk powder are growing at 15%. Your curd and paneer, ghee, butter, etc. are growing at 16%. Your whey protein, then yogurt, and this is kind of cheese. These things are growing at 25%. This is the kind of profitability in milk products. Very good. Then we started conserving our own, cattle which are having special attributes. So basically, some of the breeds are recognized for their speciality, and they are tagged. Discussed a bit of idea about A2 milk and organic milk. These two are growing. The markets are growing. So you can see A2 milk. This is a photograph taken from a place called Mahu near Indore. A place close by Mahu. Some of the A2 products. A2 ghee. This is a half kg ghee being sold at 1650 rupees. Premium value. But yes, people are buying. See, India is having two groups. Maybe you might be knowing better. Gone are the days where people are really afraid of high value products. No, India has good number of buyers for high value products also. Other A2 milk products. This is the kind of production and consumption in India. We are doing well in terms of milk and poultry and eggs. Okay, we are not matching the global this thing, but we are doing okay. But our rate of growth of poultry is also good. If you look at the growth of poultry, it is 5.65% of the world's egg production is from India. 3% of global poultry meat production is from India. We are growing at roughly 8.5% in when it comes to poultry meat and poultry eggs. This is also healthy growth. 8.5 is healthy growth. Earlier we were having the growth rate which is close to 10 plus, but of late it has slightly come down to 8.5%. So our poultry meat production is like 3.62 million metric tons in 2018. Okay. And this is how that predominantly the poultry businesses are contractual agreement related things. This is how they operate in backward and forward integration models. Suguna Poultry is doing very well. It is one of the foremost Indian brand when it comes to poultry meat or poultry products. Everywhere there is market. Even for egg, there is a marketing strategy. They are saying Suguna Active Eggs, Suguna Pro Eggs, Suguna Sekti, Suguna Heart, all those stuff. Multiple products from chilled chicken and frozen chicken. Yeah, discuss the case of Kadaknath. Yeah, this is how the consumption is going up. Eggs. And now people are shifting from traditional crops to other crops to make money. People are basically in quest of money. Accordingly, the nature of business is changing in agriculture and agribusiness also. Yeah, that's all from my side, and thank you so much for your patient listening. Now that left with last 10 minutes, I would like to, hear some questions from you, and probably I can understand and then I can answer for that. Yeah, any questions for discussion? Hello.
Sir, can you tell about AgMark, sir?
AgMark is basically a grading and certification. See, when you are, it is for declaring your product. It's a kind of certification, standardization.
Can we attach to this agri products? Sir?
See, basically when you are exporting or you are doing some kind of trade, somebody has to endorse the product's grade standard. So AgMark is doing it. It is a kind of certification process.
So
Sir, one question.
standardized grading is done for agri products.
Sorry?
Standardizing is done for agri products.
I didn't get your question, sir. Sorry.
You have to go for standardization of agri products, sir.
Yeah, see, standardization is basically grading is one thing, and grading packing. So the inherent issue is that not many people grade in India when it comes to general farmers. It has to do with a marketing connotation, because even if some of the farmers are grading, the buyers are not honoring the quality. So it is a two-way kind of issue.
Sir, one question.
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Guru Vishal Sinha.
Yeah,
Guru Vishal Sinha. Sir, like you had shown that mangoes we are exporting. So we are exporting it in the form of pulp, or we are exporting it as an original food?
See, not many countries. See, some of the countries in Europe are taking mangoes. Like Alfonso has a good exportable value in terms of fruit. They are sold in form of fruit. But other countries are importing pulp. They can make some cool drinks or something like that. But
Sir,
some countries don't take in fruit form. It depends on the individual's choice.
Sir, one data I want to know, that we are very good in exporting the pulp, or we are good in exporting the raw material, like the natural fruit to the country.
That data I don't have as of now. We are good in both the things, because see, we are strong both in pulp exports as well as the raw fruit export. I don't have the figures. Maybe I can get back to you if you can leave me with your email.
Okay, sir. Sir, the next question is that in your presentation, you had quoted that we are in the milk production number 1. Sir, we are also exporting our food product, because Amul is doing it. I know it very well. That Anand Milk unit, our butter. So other units are also exporting the same milk products to other nations also, or only Amul is there?
See, there are certain other milk products, other companies which are dealing with milk product, like Nestle, ITC. Recently, ITC has come into milk business. So everybody is interested in milk business because there is a huge potential. So milk, it is not only milk, it is milk derivatives, in the sense that it is not the liquid milk. It can be ghee, or it can be butter, or it can be paneer, it can be cheese. These things have much exportable value in the world market.
Okay, sir, that means we are having our processing facility in the India.
Yeah.
So the partners in which way they warm it in a material like powder, milk, or some granulated form, we can do it. Means we have the processing facility.
We have the technology and we have the raw material also in our country.
Okay, sir. Sir, like in vegetation area, I had seen all the presentation is very fine and very good. The fruits, vegetables, and everything. But sir, how the farmers? I know government is giving subsidy and everything. There are other foreign partners are also in India who are helping in these issues of our rural entrepreneurs for developing the vegetation. Fruits,
vegetation means I didn't get you.
Like vegetables and fruits. Development in the area of food, basically vegetables.
In today we are very we are doing very good in horticulture. Maybe you might have seen Madam Nirmala Sitharaman has told
Yes.
that the value of agricultural commodities are lesser than the horticultural commodities last year, in the sense that horticulture has superseded agriculture. So horticulture is nothing but fruits and vegetables. We are doing pretty good in horticulture.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you for answering all the questions, sir. Thank
My
you, sir.
pleasure, sir. My
Thank you,
pleasure.
sir.
Hello, sir. It's Dr. Tidke calling
Yeah,
on
doctor.
behalf of Sanjeevani Group of Institute, Kopargaon, Maharashtra.
Please, sir.
Sir, I'm living in an area where one of the dairy industry named as Prabhat Group of Industries,
Okay.
which has got recently its IPO listed in Bombay Stock Exchange.
Okay.
But very next to that, they have got acquired by a French-based dairy industry. My
Okay.
question is, cooperative sugar dairy industry is a great picture of Indian context, but a dairy industry, when entered into listed and a professional kind of setup, and they didn't made it through the ways, and they got merged to somebody else. So, can you focus on some of the future prospects for these dairy industries in terms of collaborative movements, which can give them the better professional pictures, because foreign players have started coming to Indian context. So, your opinion on the same, sir, please.
Sir, if you look at the cooperative movement, Amul is one of the greatest example in cooperative movement. See, cooperative movement has been very successful when it comes to milk supply, because see, you have to collect milk from a million small producers. Somebody is giving you 1 liter, somebody is giving you 3 liters, somebody is giving you 5 liter. So we are collecting all these small volumes of milk from n number of villages, from n number of, it is a cluster based collection, this thing. So cooperatives have done reasonably well, not only reasonably well, they have done extremely well when it comes to milk collection. But what has happened was slowly these cooperatives are not doing well because of the politicization. I'm not, giving any specific example. It's a general trend. So now people are talking about farmer producer companies. But, unfortunately or fortunately, milk and sugar, they still remained in cooperative sector, in the stronghold of cooperative sector. Okay, wherever you go, every state has its own cooperative for milk. Nandini in Karnataka, or Sanchi in Madhya Pradesh, or Vijaya in AP. Everywhere you have cooperatives, milk federations. So as of now, yes, these are doing well because the end product has the market value. But okay, I don't know the specific case of Prabhat Dairy, but actually a lot of foreign players are coming because they want to tap the value of the value added products in the milk, sir. So that is the final lookout. Even if you look at, Indian companies, they want to tap the value added market in the milk products.
Okay. So that would be key for success to even cooperatives.
Yes, sir. Now, earlier you might be knowing some of the banks were giving loans for individuals to buy buffaloes or cows long back, 20-30 years back, when, I'm talking about 2 decades back. Now nobody will give any loan to farmer just to buy, cattle. If it is a value added product business, then the bank manager would be happy to give loan, because there is a market for value added products in milk.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you for your address.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
My pleasure. So any other clarifications or questions, friends, from your side?
So good evening, sir.
Yeah. Good evening. Please tell me.
Sir, I wanted to know from you, sir. The thing is, from your words, you said the milk products, India is the largest producer. Sir, so like a Nestle product, so from India, it has any particular milk product brand who supply to the throughout maybe the globally, sir? Can we find any product, sir?
Yeah, Amul is one such brand, sir. Amul in Indian context is a very big brand, and Amul is making its presence worldwide. Now, after Amul, see, you have a lot of milk companies, a lot of companies dealing with, Hatsun from Tamil Nadu.
Yes, sir.
Nestle, ITC, you have, Mother Dairy. So a lot of companies are coming forward. Now the new trend is that, A2 milk or A2 milk products. This is going to be a big hit, both in domestic and export markets.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, session is very informative and excellent, sir.
Thank you, madam.
The question that I have, yeah. So the question that I have is related to the benefits that are received by this agricultural product, sir. Is it like better to sell it in the domestic market or to export those goods? Which one would be more profitable for this particular sector?
Madam, till now, if a farmer can export his goods, or if he can see, farmer cannot directly export. If he can sell it to a processor who in turn is involved in export business, that might fetch him a better price. That has been my experience. So if and for that, to get that kind of price realization, the farmer should appreciate the kind of quality, that he has to deliver to the buyer. If he understands the buyer's requirement well, then nothing like it. It is like, buyer would be happy, farmer would be happy, even the export purchaser, the importing country would be very, very happy. So that way it is, catering to all the interests. So it would be very good if the farmer can understand the quality requirements of the buyers.
So it's actually the recent bills that have been passed. Related to the farm bills.
Yeah.
So like farmer can directly sell his products to any buyer. It's not now.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we go with that concept of the new regulation that has been passed, I feel like maybe the farmer would be more benefited than the previous this one. So yes, in that context, I was asking, like, if it is exported, will he be fetching more benefits, or domestically, if he in the domestic market?
Like, ma'am, exportable commodities will give better price realization or better price, better profit to the farmer. For example, a Darjeeling tea, or for example, some varieties of tobacco or some varieties of fruits. When they are getting exported, they'll get better value compared to the products which are domestically sold.
Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure, madam. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, good evening, sir. I'm Ramesh Babu from Vidyavala Engineering College, Andhra Pradesh.
Good evening, sir. Please tell me, sir.
I observed that you said the agriculture is rising more in terms of production and the quantity.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you said that corporates are doing good in terms of producing value-added products.
Yeah.
But in between, will you agree that is it providing opportunities for rural youth for entrepreneurship? If yes, can you highlight some of the things, or if not, what are the challenges that the youth facing to enter into the agri-entrepreneurship?
Sir, actually, there are several supporting factors or encouraging factors for the youth to get into agri-entrepreneurship. I described few businesses like, aggregation business, vegetable aggregation business, or, the local agri equipment lending, custom hiring business, or, local food processing business. There are several subsidy schemes from the government of India as well as from the respective state governments, which are there to encourage rural youth to get into agribusiness. But unfortunately, rural youth are not really fascinated with agriculture. They look at it as a dull activity. But there are, you know, a small percentage of rural youth who are actively involved and who are doing very well. So these are like, you know, I myself, I conduct a lot of, you know, entrepreneurship training programs in the rural areas. Not many people are interested in agriculture as such, because they see it as a very dull activity. But people who are doing it with wholehearted kind of doing it well.
Yes, sir, that's what I observed, that majority are not attracted towards the agri entrepreneurship. Though I observed, because I am in engineering college, people are attracted towards the app development or some technology related only.
Yes, sir.
That is what the gap. So
Yeah.
how can we address this gap, either maybe from faculty side or people like you?
Sir, basically, see, people should understand. See, basically, it is, see, a farmer doesn't want his son to become a farmer. That is the, you know, bad scenario in India. Because, you know, farming in small holdings is not doing good, in the sense that, you know, if I were a farmer for 2 acres, I may not be doing good. If I decide, if I were a rural youth and I have 2 acres, I should decide, ki boss, let me have only 2 acres. I may inherit only 2 acres. I'll take another 10 acres for lease. I should have that kind of gut feeling and that kind of positive approach towards agriculture. And as I have seen, I am there in this sector from past 23 years. I'm a grandson of a farmer. I'm a son of a farmer, and I'm a practicing farmer now. And I worked in various agribusiness companies. Farming will never give you losses, in the sense that it will not leave you only with losses. Losses are there. Yes, 20%, 30%, 40% losses are there. But net, when you look at the scenario over a period of time, you know, 5 years, 10 years, it is a net profit only, sir. You may incur losses in 1 or 2, stop you from, you know, doing farming wholeheartedly. The major issue is lack of dedication and lack of respect for agriculture, sir.
Okay. Can you highlight the scope for organic based business, or maybe organic processing and so on?
Yeah, organic is picking up in India, sir. I told in my presentation also, there is a 20% increase in organic area. Now we are having 27.7 lakh hectares under organic cultivation. People are buying organic vegetables, organic spices, organic rice, and organic wheat, atta, and all those things. This is on rice. Now people are also understanding what is real organic. Earlier, you know, everything is organic. You know, like people used to say, no, this is a Ayurvedic jadi guti hai, this is organic. Now people are saying that, boss, did you get the certificate for this? Is it a certified organic product? Certified organic product is a genuine organic product. People are asking for it, and they are not minding, you know, they don't mind paying, you know, 20% or 30% margin for the truly organic product. So that way there is a great growth which has just started in Indian scenario, sir. I am at personal level, and also, you know, looking at the trends, I am very much bullish about it.
Thank you, sir. Last one. I have a friend in Spices Board also.
Okay.
He said that spices is also one good opportunity for processing or exporting also.
Yeah.
Will you agree, and is there any?
Yeah, definitely, sir. Spices is one, but only thing is that, you know, we should have the knowledge about the requirements of the product as well as the, you know, trade requirements. Because the only issue in spices business is that fluctuation of prices. You know, chilies, if you take, for example, Guntur is having Asia's biggest chili market. The intraday pricing is also having fluctuation. When the market starts at 6 or 7, the price starts at some point, you know, when you go to market at 9 o'clock in the morning, the price is a different thing. So can you absorb that kind of vacillation in prices? So that we have to see. Otherwise, you know, people are making money in that. I'm not saying it's a bad business. It's a good business, in fact.
Sir, thanks a lot for your insightful presentation and your patience in answering questions.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure. Thank you so much. So I'll take leave, and thank you so much, friends. Thanks a lot. Nice meeting you all. Thank you. See you,
Thank
madam.
you, sir.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you
On
so
behalf
much.
of Department of Commerce and Business
Thank you, sir.
Management,
Thank you.
My
Mahatma
pleasure.
Gandhi University, I would like to propose the vote of thanks to Mr. PVGK Murthy for sharing his valuable time and insights about startups and innovations in agribusiness sector in India. Sir has thrown light on various facets of agribusiness like agribusiness, a combination of agri inputs, outputs, support, value added and niche segment, nature of agribusiness, startup funding, various businesses in agriculture, agricultural marketing system, issues in commodity marketing, scope for interventions, measures to increase marketability, scope of new businesses in agriculture related areas, value addition, scope in agriculture, branding of Indian products, custom hiring of machinery, advanced agribusiness aspects, food processing sector in India, etc. Sir has also patiently answered the queries too. Thank you very much, sir. It was
My pleasure.
excellent presentation, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure. I'll take leave, ma'am. Thank you. I'm leaving
Thank
the
you, sir.
meeting. Thank you so much. Good.
Thank you all the participants too. We shall meet again tomorrow for the next session. Thank you.